Welcome to Table Flippers Podcast, ministry of Greater Worship Christian Church here in Lancaster, California. I am your host, Apostle Robert Enos. Here we will talk about doctrine and theology, politics, social and cultural issues, and how the church is to respond and face these issues. Get ready for a large dose of truth and get ready to have your tables flipped. As a friend just told me recently, Table Flippers is flipping awesome. Hello, fellow table flippers. I have some exciting news. Table Flippers is now selling merchandise, table flipping merchandise. You can find our merchandise at tableflipperspodcast.com, tableflipperspodcast.com, and if you put freedom in the promo code area, you'll get 10% off. That's exciting news. Freedom, because that's what we're all about. Freedom as the promo code. So I hope to see you soon, and I hope that you get some of this exciting merchandise so that we can all look cool together. We will be flipping awesome. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today I have a very interesting podcast. Some information that I want to share with you. As you know, we are coming up on our midterm elections here in November, not too far away, less than 3 weeks. And I'm going to be speaking to you about somebody who's running in my area who's asking for my vote. I have a flyer in my hand from a gentleman named Juan Carrillo, who is presently in the Palmdale City Council, and he is running for assembly, for state assembly. And the reason I'm doing this, I haven't done this before, because one of the things I don't like to do is just pick a name and start bashing a name. Now, I will do that if it needs to be done. And in this case, I think it needs to be done. And the fact that he took the time and spent the money to send me this flyer asking for my vote, well, I guess it gives me the open door to speak about this and about him openly, especially on my podcast. So let me just start with the front page of this, and it says Democrat. Now that should tell you something right there. But Democrat Juan Carrillo for assembly, making a difference every day. And then at the bottom it says the Los Angeles Times. I think the New York Times is the only more liberal paper out there, but Los Angeles Times, send Juan Carrillo to Sacramento to represent Antelope Valley in the state assembly. And ladies and gentlemen, before I go any further, I am not at all in any way endorsing Juan Carrillo. I'm just telling you what he says, and I'm going to make some comments on it. So that's the front part of the paper, or the flyer, and I'm going to flip it over to the back side of this flyer. And again, it says, Democrat Juan Carrillo for assembly, making a difference every day. I'm going to read the rest of this so that we can see what kind of difference Juan Carrillo is making in the lives of the people of Palmdale. So let's see. There's a little star, like a law enforcement star. And next to it, it says, keeping us safe. Now listen to this. On the Palmdale City Council, Juan Carrillo delivered funding for emergency response and law enforcement and investments in parks and after-school programs to keep kids out of trouble. Okay, now I'm going to give you my commentary on this. Unless Juan Carrillo delivered his own funds, his own money, this is very deceiving. Okay? At least. And at worst, an absolute lie. Juan Carrillo didn't deliver funding. He took your money and my money, the taxpayer. And it wasn't just him, but it was the rest of the city council, because he could not do it by himself. So they voted on it, and they took our money to give it to these into the parks and after-school programs to keep kids out of trouble. Mr. Juan Carrillo, let me explain something to you, dude. Apparently you haven't been on this planet long enough, or you've been out in the neighborhoods long enough to realize it's in the parks where kids are getting in trouble. I hate to say it because I love beautiful parks myself, but it's when they're unattended by chaperones and adults that kids get in trouble in parks. You don't believe me? How many times have we heard stories, ladies and gentlemen, of drug needles being found in the sandboxes at our local parks, or razor blades being found in the sandboxes and in and around the equipment that the kids play on, the toys that the kids play on? How many times have we heard there's drug paraphernalia, or there's razor blades, there's needles? Often, there are people trying to live out there in our parks, and he's saying he's trying to use this as a plug. Hey, you want me to vote for you because you just created another place for kids to get in trouble? And these after-school programs, I am not against after-school programs at all, if they work. And it says here, after-school programs to keep kids out of trouble. Hey, are our kids out of trouble? Did crime go down? Did juvenile arrests go down? I want to see some data on this. You're throwing this stuff out where you stole, or you took, I shouldn't say steal, because unfortunately they did it legal, but they took taxpayer dollars and without a vote on it, gave it to parks and gave it to after-school programs without any evidence or proof that these things are working. So what is it? Another talking point. They can say, look at this good thing we did. Our parks are bigger. We have more parks. And now we have given kids more places to get in trouble. And again, I'm not against parks. I'm not against after-school programs. But don't try to set that up like it's the save-all for Palmdale when you took my money and you took our money and you gave it to these places and created a place for kids to go get in trouble. But let's move on, ladies and gentlemen. It also says here, investing in education. Understanding that education changed his life, Juan will increase access to educational opportunities in after-school programs and be a tireless advocate for affordable college. Oh my gosh, where do we start on this one? Mr. Carrillo, I'm so glad that education changed your life. But according to what I'm reading and I'm seeing, and the fact that you're a Democrat, you didn't get the right education. So it may have changed your life, but certainly not for the better, because you're not changing our life for the better. The mere fact that you are a Democrat proves to me that you do not have the education that you would like to think you have. And it says you will increase access to educational opportunity. What in the world does that mean? There isn't a person in this nation that has been denied access to an education. Most every city, but certainly every county, has a library where people can go and read tons of books and get a phenomenal education. So what are you going to do, Mr. Carrillo? Put those books on a bus and bus them into people's homes? I have no idea what that means. And here you go again with the after-school programs, and to be a tireless advocate for affordable college. Again, I want to educate you, Mr. Carrillo, since you're so big on education. It is the Democrat policies, the failed Democrat policies, that have made college so expensive and made it difficult for people to get into a good college. It is the Democrat policies that continue producing graduating class after graduating class of people that have worthless degrees. Yes, Mr. Carrillo, that is the Democrat policies. You are part of the problem, not the answer or the solution. Still, there is more, ladies and gentlemen. Addressing homelessness and housing. As a city planner, Juan streamlined the construction of new homes to expand affordable housing. He has worked to address homelessness, providing housing and supportive services. Then, listen, Mr. Carrillo, please. The people of Palmdale are not idiots. The people of Palmdale are not fools. When they drive around their city, and the city is becoming more and more run down, and more homeless people camping out all over the place. Just not too long ago, just recently, there was a fire, another fire from a homeless camp that should never have been there, near the heart of the city. So all this work that you're doing to help the homeless, you haven't helped. And ladies and gentlemen, I know this is a fact. One of the things that our dear Juan Carrillo is working on with the LA County Board of Supervisors is to try to build if you will, an apartment type of structure up in Palmdale to bus in all the homeless people from the LA area and the surrounding areas to give them this so-called affordable housing. Here's the problem with that. These types of things have been tried over and over and over and over again, and every time they're tried, they fail. They absolutely fail. Why? Because the people come in, they're homeless, but there's a reason why they're homeless. And they either have addictions or some mental, emotional problems. And it's not just the down and out hobo of yesteryear. These are people with serious problems. You can put them in a nice hotel or a nice apartment, and they rarely stay. So if you put 100 people into an apartment complex, 6 months later, there might only be 10 or 20 of those original people that have enough sense to stay and remain and get their life together. I'm not trying to put down the homeless. I'm just telling you the truth. Something Juan Carrillo will never do. What's going to happen with them? They're just going to leave that place and go into the immediate surrounding areas. Why? So they can't be told what to do because that's the way they choose to live. Again, not all of them, but most of them. So Juan Carrillo wants to bring these people up, and it's a feel good. Listen, he wants to play upon your emotions, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this good thing I'm doing. Look at this beautiful housing project for the homeless. Look at this beautiful housing project for those who are down and out. And what it's going to do is invite a group of people that don't know how to live in the rest of society with the rest of us. Do they need help? Absolutely, but not that kind of help. Do they need a helping hand? Oh, yes, most certainly. I'm all for it. I'm all for helping the homeless. But this has failed every time it's been tried. And the Democrats keep trying it over and over again. Why? Because it's an emotional feel-good thing only to get one thing, your vote. He also says here that he works to address homelessness, providing housing and supportive services. And he also tried to, it says, expand affordable housing. Well, where are they? Where are they? I just heard that the median home price in the Antelope Valley up here, Palmdale included, is over $400,000. Where's the affordable housing, dude? So you're trying to sell yourself on something you could never do or pull off. There's no affordable housing up here, not like you want to spout. So instead of talking about this mysterious affordable housing that you've never been able to produce, why didn't you use your time in the city council to get well-paying jobs up here, career type of jobs up here, so that the people that come here can then afford that $400,000 house? Instead of trying to push this idea that you're creating affordable housing, when in reality, all you're doing is wanting to build an apartment place or a complex for homeless people. That's not affordable housing. The person that's got a job and the person that's working hard is not going to live there. That's for a whole nother thing. And you're inviting a criminal element to the Antelope Valley, to Palmdale. And all of the Antelope Valley is going to suffer because of the things you are pushing, Mr. Carrillo. Oh, and here's my favorite one. Sarcasm noted. And it's next to a little icon of Planned Parenthood. And it says this: protecting reproductive freedom. Juan Carrillo has stood up for reproductive rights and access to safe, legal abortions. He will be an advocate for equality, equal rights, and access to health care for everyone. Really? How about the baby that you have no problem murdering, Mr. Carrillo, Democrat Juan Carrillo? How about the little baby that didn't get a chance to live and its rights, her rights, his rights were completely stripped from them when you murdered them in the womb? How about that, Mr. Protecting Reproductive Rights Juan Carrillo? Let me just say this, dude. You are flat evil and flat wicked. Again, you may have gotten an education, but it was certainly not in biology. You don't understand that living child that's living in the womb is living. So every abortion is about murdering children. And then you're going to try to tell me that you'll murder the most innocent of us, the children in the womb. But then come later, you'll want to build a park for the kids that made it. For the kids that somehow escaped your scalpel and your policies, Mr. Carrillo. You're a hypocrite. You're a double-minded hypocrite. You cannot murder the most innocent of children and then try to pull off this con act of, now I have a heart for the children of the world. No, you don't. You would have rather seen them dead in a cold bowl in some clinic somewhere. You're a hypocrite, Mr. Carrillo. And ladies and gentlemen, I am so fed up because there's so many Christians out there that will read this and go, oh, Mr. Carrillo, look, he's all for the children. No, he's not. He would rather murder them. It says it right here. Juan Carrillo has stood up for the so-called reproductive rights and access to safe, legal abortions. What's an abortion? Baby murder. He has stood up for the right to kill your children. That's the truth of it. That's who Juan Carrillo is. That's what we do not need in California or anywhere else on this planet. So, Mr. Carrillo, I highly suggest that you continue your educational journey and go figure out these things and get your head right and get your heart right. And I'm calling you to repent. I know that somewhere deep down, somewhere in your past, somewhere in your life, you have some type of religious ideas or ideology. Well, it's time to get back to those roots, and it's time to get back to that place. It's time to repent so you can stand before God clean and free, and that you can turn your life around and stop being a murderous hypocrite. It's time, Mr. Carrillo, for you to step down in this sense, but step up and get closer to Jesus and get your heart right with God. It's time. Ladies and gentlemen, it is still amazing to me with everything that we know, not just religiously, biblically, everything that we know, even scientifically, medically, that this type of nonsense is just that. This nonsense is still alive and well in our American politics. That there are anybody anywhere in America that would even think for a moment that abortion is not murder. But it most certainly is. It's a grave wickedness that has stained the soil of America. A grave wickedness that God is calling us back to truth, righteousness, and holiness and His Word. It's time for us to stand up for life. It's time for us to stand up for righteousness. It's time for us to stand up for goodness again. And it's time for us to stand up for the words of God in His holy Bible. If you and I can't do that as Christians first, but also Americans, who are we? What have we become? It's time to get this nation back on track. And I don't mean just voting in the federal elections. I'm talking about every election, voting in righteousness, voting in holiness, voting in those who will support biblical policies. And their own personal policies come out of biblical policies. Keep that in mind as you go to the voting box this November. Keep that in mind as you go to the voting box at any time. I hope and pray that you'll take this serious and truly look at the candidates that are out there. Truly look at them and be honest about it, and be honest about them, and be honest about who they are, and be honest about who you are. Thank you for joining us at Table Flippers Podcast. I'd really love to hear from you. Please look us up on the web at www.gwcclancaster.org. That's gwcclancaster.org. Or you can email me at gwccrobert@gmail.com. I'd really love to hear from you. Please let us know how we're doing. Keep all those comments coming. Until next time, you all have a great and a blessed day.